Guys, so we are going to attempt today to transplant some rather established volunteer tomatoes, and I'm going to show you what that looks like, how I'm doing it, and so we can try to save these. Let me show you what we have going on. Stay tuned. As you can see, these volunteer tomatoes, meaning they came up all on their own from last season, were actually growing in between my cement and right in that little dirt path. So right in between my pavers and my raised bed that I made. So my raised frame, I guess you could say, that I made. So this is my tomato bed, but these volunteers are getting so massive and out of control. There's about 2, maybe 3 of them, and I haven't been pruning them at all. I just wanted to let them grow. They are fruiting very nicely. So they're well-established tomatoes, and I know they're rooted deep down here. So I'm going to attempt to pull those out. I bought 2 5-gallon buckets. Just got them from Walmart. $3 a piece, no big deal. You can see my drill there. I'm going to drill some drainage holes in there, and I'm going to fill it with dirt, and I'm going to transplant one of each of these into there, so I can get my path walkway a little bit more clear. It's so bad that my sprinkler, which I water my garden with, is just hitting those tomato plants and barely getting the water where I want it to go on these other tomato plants. So I am going to get that done, and I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, so I got my drainage holes drilled. In case you're wondering, I just used 1/2-inch drill bit, but that's just simple drainage holes. I did 1 on each side. I find that works just fine when I'm with the other tomato container plants that I have in buckets. It's plenty of drainage holes, so there you go. Okay, so as you can see, I've got my bucket full of soil. It is just a very much sandy type soil. It's soil straight out of my backyard. I'm not going fancy and filling this with potting soil or anything like that. Tomatoes, I find, do establish themselves just fine in this mixture of my type of soil that I have here in Michigan. So we will see how this goes. I'm going to show you the end result. Now, I did fill it all the way up because I am going to try to bury the stem so it can take root a little bit deeper, give a stronger hold. And then I'm going to try to throw a cage on it, very similar to that. And I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, so look at this, guys. I pulled it out. It actually disrupted that paver right there when I pulled it out because the roots were going underneath that paver. So you can see here along that base there, it was trying to grow roots just there because it was that close to the ground. It was trying to grow roots to touch the ground. Even got some weeds established there, but so I'm going to work on that one, and then we'll work on that one. But I may have to trim a couple of these lower branches off so I can bury the stem a little deeper. But even these lower branches are another established tomato plant. If I had the room, I could plant that. We'll see. Okay, so I pruned up, as you can see, up that branch. Looks a lot cleaner. Still a huge plant. I actually cut off probably 2 to 3 established plants that were fruiting off the sides of this. So I could easily turn this one plant into many. Let's get it planted. So I dug myself a nice large hole. I don't want to go too deep because I want to leave some room for the roots to establish towards the bottom of the bucket without actually hitting the bottom. So I want to make sure I can get this in there deep so it'll be secure, but I don't want to go too deep that the roots won't have anywhere to grow. Okay, so I know it looks a mess, but for those of you wondering, I put the cage in first, and then I weaved the stem down through the middle of the cage and kind of slowly pulled each branch to where I needed it to be. As you can see, this does have some established fruit. Is that the right time to move it? Absolutely not, especially if this is your own plant. But I'm going to get this watered in, get it in its new forever home, if you will, out there with the rest of those in the sunshine. And I'm doing this late in the evening so it can establish overnight without high heat, and then we will see what it looks like in the morning. Yep, I did break off a branch here. That's okay. Tomatoes are resilient. It'll just grow a new tip somewhere else. So that's it, guys. It could stand to do some pruning. Like, I could take off this sucker, but it's a volunteer tomato. I'm leaving it the way it is. The only pruning I did was at the base. We're gonna see what happens with this one. I'll keep you guys posted. Next step is to get another bucket, fill it with some dirt, and get this one taken care of. Believe it or not, that cleared up a ton of area that I was showing you before, but I still have this one that needs to be dealt with. Look at that. That one's got some large tomatoes on it. So the problem is, I can't tell if this is a beefsteak or a cherry volunteer, or both, because this looks like a separate one altogether. Looks like a beefsteak and a cherry, because the leaves on this one definitely say beefsteak. The leaves on this one, maybe. See, look at the beefsteak. These cherries look pretty similar, actually. But these are some large cherries for volunteer tomatoes, if they are cherry. Time will tell, guys. But there you have it. Will transplanting a very large volunteer tomato plant, will it still establish and continue to grow? I'll keep you guys updated. So, update on this tomato plant, guys. You can see it's nice and healthy. The leaves are doing just fine. This is the next morning, and usually you would see that wilt happening already, especially with tomato plants. They'll die within a couple of hours, and you can see everything transplanted just fine. So you can, as long as you do it in a very quick fashion like we did, you can transplant a mature volunteer tomato plant. This one was very strong and healthy, so it could definitely handle it. So I was able to successfully transplant this one, guys. So there you have it. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope this video helps you if you got some tomato plants that you want to move, or you want to try to put them in a container for do some container gardening. Just make sure you have the appropriate amount of drainage holes as far as that's concerned. As always, guys, I appreciate you guys watching. Give it a thumbs up, hit subscribe, and make sure you hit that notification bell so you don't miss any additional content to come. And hope you guys are staying safe and enjoying your gardens.